immunity to our own values. That's the problem. On Shalom in the Home, I used to hear all the time from Jewish people that my non-Jewish friends would come into the office and say, you got to see this rabbi who's trying to help families. I didn't do it perfectly. We didn't help all the families we tried, but I did so as a proud Jew, proudly using Jewish values, and introduced ideas that were somewhat countercultural as a result. I don't say this to be to share with you what it is that I'm doing, although some of what I'm doing is the reason why I'm advocating this. But so I do a daily radio show for Oprah Winfrey on Oprah and Friends, XM 156. And she has 7 shows, each one on a different area of expertise, fitness, health, medicine, Dr. Mehmet Oz. The fact that she sees value, not in me, but in the Jewish approach to relationships is very significant. I was telling our panel of judges in our session before that, very sadly, I go to Israel, and they're about to put me on the their morning TV show, which is like their Today show, to talk about what it is I do on Shalom in the Home. And half the producers are saying, no one's going to listen to you when they see that yarmulke and the beard. And the other half are saying, no, it's okay. Because once we show them that you're on Oprah, then they'll listen to you. Now, in Israel, there really is a rejection of this terrible divide. Here, it's not as pronounced, but it's still there. And we have to acknowledge that Judaism should be mainstream. Thank you. That is correct. Let me tell you why. I am not someone who believes that we have to mainstream Judaism and convert the world to Judaism. I believe that would be a mistake for us to actively proselytize. Passively proselytize we've always done, even discouraging people who want to convert, but we still allow people to convert. To actively proselytize would mean that we would fundamentally change our identity as a faith and as a people and as a nation. Number one, we would be embracing the Christian and Islamic idea that there was one path to truth, which has led to so many religious wars over the centuries. There are many paths to truth. God is truth, not Judaism, Christianity, or Islam. Righteousness is truth, not Christianity. Justice is truth, etc. And there are paths to that. Which is a better form of democracy? Is it American constitutional democracy? Is it British parliamentary democracy? You look at the results. These are thriving democracies. We're not here to impose. So I'm not here to impose Judaism on anyone else. The difference is, and the second thing is, I'm a great believer in the multi-ethnic society. I believe that we are all enriched through difference. I'm not looking for a homogenous society. One of the main arguments I make against my Christian brothers and sisters, especially the theologians who I debate on this issue, is that they're arguing for a homogenous society. Judaism profoundly believes in a multi-ethnic society where you don't just stomach and tolerate difference, but you actually feel enriched by difference. I don't want the whole world to be men. I don't want the whole world to be women. We dare not ape our sameness. So that's why I say it has to be done through the filter of other people's experience. I think that our Christian brothers and sisters will be enriched as Christians if they discover the Jewishness of Jesus, which they've largely ignored. And only now they're beginning to. I think the same thing is true if our Islamic brothers and sisters. One of the great ways to create peace between Islam and Judaism is to show so many of the Jewish origins of Islam, which of course are profound. They're both Abrahamic religions. Even when it comes to atheism and agnosticism, there are so many things that we, of course, have in common, and so much of it derives from Judaism, like what the historian Paul Johnson says. He says, to the Jews we owe the equality before the law, both divine and human, of the sanctity of life and the dignity of the human person, of the individual conscience, and so of personal redemption, of the collective conscience, and so of social responsibility, of peace as an abstract ideal, and love as the foundation of justice. These are the basic furniture of the human mind. Without the Jews, it would be a far emptier place. I'm looking to bring values to people's identity. Cory Booker will never become a Jew, and I'm glad. I said to him, as he left Oxford after 2 years on a Rhodes Scholarship, that if he embraced Judaism, it would actually demonstrate the impotence of our friendship. And specifically that he's a very devout Christian who takes his Christianity very seriously. We don't have to be the same. The difference is that we Jews have never had a seat at the table. We've never had a seat at the table. The only thing the world knows about Jews, and many Jews know about Jews, are bagels and lox, and this is our contribution to the world. This is tragic. We have never had a seat at the table. We've never asked for it. We don't believe we have anything to say. It's terrible. It took a couple of people teaching Kabbalah to believe that they had something to offer, and then the whole Jewish community, it's a controversial movement, Kabbalah. I'm not here to recommend it or to discourage it. I'm just saying that why didn't the mainstream community think we had anything to offer? America does need a Friday night that would be a family night. Why shouldn't we offer it? Jacob Berkman. I used to live in my own region covering New Jersey, now at the JTA. Nice to see you.
So I think one of the things that we can learn from contemporary literature and contemporary Jewish literature is that God is scary, and God is especially scary to Jews. But your plan seems based on convincing people that they are divine. How do you bring a scary God to people and empower them?
I fully realize that there'll be some in the audience, and perhaps some of the judges as well, and some of the journalists who will take issue with what seems to be a spiritual orientation of these values. First of all, I think that spirituality is independent of faith. The perfect example is Oprah Winfrey, who has become the most influential woman in the world, arguably the most influential person in the world, based on her understanding that even completely non-religious people want to have spirituality. On our radio network, she actually does a course. She does a course on a book called by Eckhart Tolle. I forgot the name of the book. If anyone knows it, listens to it. This is unbelievable. You have this television host doing a course in spirituality that's being listened to by tens of millions of people, and that's where her influence comes from. I think we have to accept that people do have this spiritual longing. It need not even be religious. I actually think that even those who don't believe in God, deny there's a God, maybe they won't be as extreme as Richard Dawkins, but I think they still believe that there's something that transcends time and place. Call it the human conscience, call it purposefulness. But why haven't we given the world, why hasn't the Jewish community given the world a Rick Warren and a book like The Purpose-Driven Life? Where is the Jewish Joel Osteen, who gets 10 million people watching him every week, discussing, universal spirituality, as it were, based on the Old Testament, by the way? And if we're just going to totally divorce even the word God, etc., the fact is, America has these words in some of its founding documents, and we're not imposing it on anyone. Our language will be universal. Like I said, turning Friday night into family night is not, I think, religious experience. When I told couples in my book, Kosher Sex, non-Jewish couples, to institute a period of sexual separation so as to create the erotic barriers so that lust can be restored to relationships, Plato stated it differently. He argued for platonic relationships. Well, being in marriage for 30 years and having a woman next to you who's a 30-year tease can be a bit trying. The Jewish remedy to have sexual union and then sexual separation, we launched this on the Today Show, a mainstream show. We had hundreds of thousands of Americans who joined our Kosher Sex Club. They just saw the value of the idea. And I think that we can do the same without calling it religion.
What are the Jewish values that you would not mainstream?
That's a very good question, and I have to be honest, I have not thought of that question. What comes immediately to mind? None, really. I'm not looking to mainstream Jewish ritual, but I believe that the Jewish religion, however you practice it, Reconstructionist, Reform, Conservative, Orthodox, is a faith that seeks to instill these values within our person, by which we tikkun olam, perfect the world. So, for example, when I say a blessing on an apple, it's not the blessing on the apple which is the only thing that's important. It's teaching children gratitude. So you don't take, isn't one of the biggest problems with American kids? They just appreciate nothing. So I don't need to mainstream the ritual. I do want to mainstream that value.